And we are live. You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
And we have another very special episode. We have the 1987 movie The Hidden. It originally came out October 30th, 1987, just in time for Halloween. Or when is Halloween?
31st.
30th, 31st. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, just in time.
Yeah.
Directed by Jack Shoulder. I'm guessing that's how you say his name.
Yeah, that's how I heard it pronounced in things I watched about it.
Yeah, his work is probably his biggest movie is directing the Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's done a lot of TV movie stuff. He did one of our kind of guilty pleasures of By Dawn's Early Light, which was like an early HBO movie.
Yeah, the 1990 HBO World War III. Yeah. That.
And then, but yeah, a bunch of TV movie and TV series stuff. Shot by Jacques Haitkin, who he's worked with that guy. He shot both the first two Nightmare on Elm Street movies. That's what he did.
Okay.
And like a lot of his cinematography stuff is kind of on low budget like horror movies and stuff. But he has like a lot of big credits as a second unit director. Like he did second unit for Kong Skull Island and like one of the Fast and Furious movies and Venom.
Oh, okay.
So he's on like he does like cinematography for lower budget movies and then does second unit for a lot of bigger movies. He also like did a movie that kind of like has a lot of cross section with all the movies that he shot. Cherry 2000.
Okay.
So
all right.
Which weirdly, yeah, a lot of the movies we've done has crossed paths with that movie several times. So maybe we'll have to just do that at some point. Because I only vaguely know what that movie is through a podcast. I've never actually seen it.
Yeah, I knew what I thought it was, but I got it all wrong. So maybe we can actually watch it.
Written by Jim Koof, who let's see, I forget. What is his stuff? Oh, he wrote like the Rush Hour movies and National Treasure,
Okay.
and the Stakeout movies.
All right. Well, good. So it's got a wide body of work there.
Con Air, yeah.
Yeah.
The one movie California with a K.
Oh, is that the one with Brad Pitt? Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some sort of serial killer, and it's got David Duchovny in it.
Yeah.
He also, I think he's like, he created the series Grimm, which has like 100 episodes to it. So that seems to be successful. I've never seen it, but any movie or any show that has like 6 seasons has to be successful in some way. So, and then of course stars Kyle MacLachlan, Michael Nouri, who I don't really know. Do you have any?
He was like I'm trying to think of. I know he was on like what is he was in Flashdance, and he did a lot of like daytime TV, like All My Children.
Oh, okay.
And then he started doing like he was on NCIS.
Okay.
And then some other stuff like that, but he was kind of more of a like a kind of a daytime actor at this time.
Well, it's funny. The trivia says like so many people up for this movie. Like apparently, like Mel Gibson. Oh wait, no, other way around. Apparently, Michael Nouri was up for the Mel Gibson part, but he turned it down to do this. So
Yeah, that was a good choice.
And Claudia Christian, who I most know as like the security head of security in Babylon 5.
Yeah, that was the weirdest season of Babylon 5. She was the like co-captain or whatever.
Oh, is she only in one season? I thought she was in multiple.
I thought she only did the last season, or maybe it was the last 2 seasons. I'm not sure.
Well, I know like the first season's weird because in the second season they changed the cast around. So
Yeah.
yeah, she was in 87 episodes of Babylon 5. So yeah, she was in.
Okay. She was in more than that. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, and Babylon 5, I remember her as being as like kind of like the no nonsense head of security, and then like cracks a joke at the end of every episode. It's like, see, we have fun around here. It's not all dire circumstances. And of course, my favorite name, part of the cast, and I don't even know who this is. I only know the name because
I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah, she was Ivanova. She left after the 4th season.
Okay.
She was just like a recurring in the 5th season because the 5th season was the weird season. I was thinking of someone else. Okay.
Okay. But I don't even know who he is in this movie. But this is a funny name that I always hear brought up in like Mystery Science Theater, and that's Clu Gulager.
Okay.
I don't know who he was in this movie. It says Lieutenant Ed Flynn. I don't remember who that is, but that's a great name, Clu Gulager.
That is a good name. Oh, and he just died like in August of 2022.
Huh.
So he was around as 93. So he was around a long time.
Yeah, I did a lot of westerns. At least that's his portrait in his Internet Movie Database profiles in one of his westerns he did. But so he's basically in that around that day where like every show was a western. So remember, if you hate superhero stuff, imagine the hate for 30 years of westerns.
Yeah.
Leading the way in Hollywood.
Imagine when Bonanza was the biggest thing on TV. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a fine show.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine. I just can't in my mind be like, this was like the dominant television show in this country for like ever.
Yeah. And so, like, Nathan, what's your history with The Hidden? Because I like as you think of like a B movie that people suggest, this is the movie I think of of you suggesting to me like, oh, that's a cool movie people don't think of.
Yeah, I forget. I think this was like because 87, I would have been like, I don't know, 12 something. I'm sure. Well, let's say I was born in 74, so yeah, I would have been like 13 years old. 12, 13 years old. And I remember just from the original box art of this, seeing this in a store for rent. So it would have been like 88 or whatever. And I was like, yeah, we should rent this, and it's just like, it was an R-rated movie. So of course, you had to find some adult to rent it. So you just like somebody's mom or something would be like, yeah, get this, and this. And this was one that I wanted to see just based on the box art. It's like, this looks pretty cool. And I remember watching it, and at first I was thinking, I don't know if this is going to be a movie, because see, I'm not a guy who likes I don't like a lot of like the horror that was around in the 80s.
Yeah,
where it's just like gore and stupidity and people being pulled apart and weird effects and stuff like that. Now I did like The Thing by John Carpenter, but that also had a great like story and acting behind it. So I was like, I'm going to try this, but if this just becomes one of those gross out dumb horror movies, then I'm not going to watch this. But yeah, I remember I was watching it for like the first 5 minutes when he's like driving a Ferrari through a park. It's like, oh, this is a cool movie. I didn't really have the language or the way to understand. It's like, this isn't a good movie like this was a huge hit.
Yeah.
This is an interesting movie that really never stops. It's like it's always going.
Well, actually, the thing actually came to us. Oh, go ahead.
No, and also I remember Kyle MacLachlan from Dune.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, well, he's in it, so like I like Dune, not realizing that's like that wasn't really a good movie at the time. It's like, so this might be cool.
Well, I think what's fascinating about this movie and also like I don't know how to take it because like essentially I don't know when I saw it, or I always remember the ending of it because that's very striking.
Yeah.
And they played that on cable, so apparently that was okay. Like the most violent scene in the movie. Just throw that on cable. Is like I've always known the twist, And so I always know like, oh yeah, there's an alien and they're transferring. And I was trying to watch it, think about watching it this time. It's like, and there is that early thing early on where it's like it jumps into the other guy like about 20 minutes and is like, okay, you know what's going on. But like nobody like there's like almost no exposition. And I was like fascinated by the strength of this movie to not just tell you exactly what's going on.
Nope. This movie purely relies on visual and like no one's like, hey, wait a minute. Why is this wait, how is this happening?
I was also like thinking of Terminator, so I went back like, okay, what's the opening of Terminator? And like there's a scroll that tells you like it's the 2047, the machines are winning the war, but it's not going to be fought. The future's not going to be fought, or the
war's not going to be won in the future. It's going to be won tonight in our present, or something.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And then also like later on, about 15 minutes of the movie, when Reese shows up, he's like, "It's a Terminator T-1000 infiltration unit." He's telling exactly what's going on. None of that shit happens here, or at least not till like the end of the movie, where it's like you're way too far in and you've already pieced it together yourself. So, but
yeah, this movie's like when you know what's going on yourself. It's like, well, how are they going to explain it? And it's kind of like, in the middle of a shootout. It's well, you're not going to like this, but
because most movies like this, especially in this decade, they don't trust their audience to know what's going on, and so at some point they just give you very direct exposition.
Yeah.
So yeah, this kind of like I was fascinated by them not just doing that. It's like, we're gonna trust our audience, and then of course that didn't work for them. I don't know what like how did this do at the box office?
Not well.
Okay.
I mean, it made 10 million, but it's hard to find. There was a lot of stuff about different people that were supposed to be, like you were saying, in the lead roles.
Yeah.
Actually, it was considered to be a modest hit, making $9 million in the box office.
Huh.
So, okay, it must have cost like $2 or $3 million to make. Sounds about right.
Well,
that's not bad. It's just,
Oh no! It's like this is a pretty action-packed movie, especially for what seemed like they probably didn't have a lot of money. It's like if your biggest name is Kyle MacLachlan.
Yep.
But there's a New Line release, which like this guy did Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and that was like their bread and butter. So it seemed like they just kind of threw this guy another movie.
Yeah.
So, because I don't think he did another feature after this, so I didn't know if like he, but.
Oh, he said it's his favorite movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
He liked doing it.
Okay. So we have Act 1. You start with the white titles on black. And then we cut to green titles over black and white security cam footage of a bank. And then it's just kind of people walking by as, they got the titles on. We got the hidden comes up, and then it's kind of like inside the hidden lettering is like a picture of Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
And then a guy in the trench coat walks in and he kind of just stares around. So you notice him. It's like, well, this guy seems out of place. Then he just pulls out a shotgun and starts shooting security guards and other people. Then he grabs some cash and then shoots the camera. Then we cut to color, and that guy's running out with a comical bag full of money, a couple of them. And then he gets in his Ferrari and speeds away, playing some metal music. I don't know. Like you mentioned the cars. Was it all the Ferraris in this movie, or like which one was this?
Well, this one, the one that was actually, because there's only really one used, was a 308 GTS America.
Okay.
And the what I read of it and what people say is like, except for it exploding, all the damage it took was real. Like because it was put together from 3 different Ferraris. Because if you look, as you see, as it takes damage through the park, you can tell that, like, oh, that was painted red underneath the black paint.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they actually, except for burning it up, which was obviously, that was a prop car. You could tell, too. But yeah, as far as the stunt driving and stuff, yeah, they really messed up a Ferrari because they already had the parts for 3 other Ferraris.
Because usually in movies like this, if you're going to destroy a vehicle that's expensive, you just build like a copy of it. So you have the outside kind of not chassis, but what do you call that?
Yeah, the body's just mocked.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
mock up.
Yeah, you have the body, and then it's just like underneath is just like, you know, a Ford LTD or whatever. And then you can destroy it all you want because you just need it to look like it's a fast car, and then you can shoot around its actual performance. But here, I guess you're saying it's like, oh yeah, I mean, it was a rebuilt Ferrari, but it was rebuilt from Ferrari. So,
Yeah.
and they really did mess it up. So
Yeah, from what I've heard, and I don't know if this is true because I'm just like piecing together, like, oh, my dad worked on this movie, and you know, it's that kind of dive because there's not a lot of, there's no like documentary like The Hidden how it was made, you know, it was kind of, but yeah, they actually, because this was in almost a 10-minute chase scene, there's no way they could use a fake one because they show the guy inside like operating gears, steering, all that, you know, and it's a big part of the movie. It's the best scene in the movie, or the biggest one. So yeah, they actually use it's called a 308 GTS America, and they had one with an engine and transmission that worked, and then different body parts available. So as they wrecked it up, but they did not blow it up. It actually went back to whatever Hollywood studio, you know, car thing, and they probably used it in other movies as a background car.
The cops give chase. The robber evades police for quite a while. It's a long chase.
Yeah.
His name's Jack, and he runs over a guy in a wheelchair, you know, just to show how evil he is, because it goes out of his way to hit the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, this will be fun, and it ruins his and completely screws up his windshield.
Right.
Then we got to a detective.
I love how big 5,000-pound police cars, because they're using, like, this movie was made in '87. They were using cars that were and those police cars were used all throughout the '80s. Whenever you made anything about LA,
Yeah.
Those cars hadn't been in service since the late '70s, but they had so many of them. They're like, yeah, this is what we're using because we can literally smash up 5 of these and we're out $1,000. Those cars could not keep up with that Ferrari, and they couldn't outturn it. Definitely, they couldn't keep up with it in a straight run either. But it was kind of funny. It's like, oh, they're really, really trying to make this look
well, later on, one of the patrol cars was like a Chevelle or something like that, but I don't know.
They had different cars, yeah.
Okay.
They had all different.
But these were like the ones that
cars they would have had then would have been the square light Caprices.
Okay.
With usually with the small block V8 engines, which also would not be able to keep up with that Ferrari, but they would have weighed a lot less, and they would have had a better chance maybe of. But those big giant '70s cars with like those 400-inch cubic engines, there's no way they could keep up.
Oh, I mean, like this. I mean, even though this scene is cool, it's also like super cliche. So it's like, you know, you have like the guy going in a straight line, and he decides like, I got one more gear to go even faster. It's like, dude, you should already be in 6th gear.
You should be heading down the Santa Monica Freeway at 130 miles an hour, where the only thing that could catch you would be a helicopter, which they didn't have that many at that time. You actually could get away. But that's what's cool about this movie, because you realize, like, if you're just watching this, you don't know what's going on. It's like there's something seriously wrong with this guy.
Yeah,
like he's choosing to kill people. Even in movie chases, usually the bad guys are like, no, and they'll try to turn or whatever.
Yeah,
they don't want to hit the guy in the wheelchair or the 2 idiots moving a big pane of glass across the street and that nonsense. Which those are all cliche scenes, especially the guys moving the window. But it's different in this movie because this guy just like actually kills them. He's like, I'm just gonna.
They hit one of the guys carrying the glass, which usually they just hit the glass. Like that's a cliche. Like you hit the glass and then you hit the magical fruit stand that's apparently on every like street side, and then you hit like a pyramid of boxes in a corner. That's like the cheap way to do. Like that's your TV chase, car chase, because it's like this is cheap and easy to do. But here they throw it on, just do a little bit different, make it a little more violent.
I could not find the music for this movie at all.
Because it has good music.
Yeah, it does have good music. I couldn't find a succinct listing of it, so I don't know why that was. Because for all the other shit I found out, but it's like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so he's
because
basically
I
driving around listening to Slayer or something
yeah.
that sounds like that. It's not
Yeah.
what it is, but
um
and he looks
or
like a middle-aged stockbroker.
yeah, which is what
And
he
this actor,
is.
by the way, you've seen this guy who plays Peter DeVries. You've seen this guy in all kinds of things.
Yeah, I meant to look him up. I like he looks so familiar, but I didn't know like what he,
Character actor.
oh,
and all
character
kinds
actor.
of stuff.
Okay.
He was in Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I did see that. The cops set up they have a roadblock set up. The Ferrari gets shot to hell. It runs into the roadblock and goes and then like kind of rolls into a fence. Jack gets out and laughs at him, and the cops open fire and again and hit him, and the Ferrari blows up. Just to put a cherry on top.
Yeah. And they're actually using appropriate weapons, I think, for that, because everyone has a 12-gauge shotgun.
Yeah.
It's just like when this car crests the hill, we're just going to unload. There's no way we can't kill this guy. So they're actually like, they're not, one guy's using a 38 snub nose. It's like, no, go get a shotgun.
Well, one of the detectives comes up and he just takes a shotgun from one of the
Yeah.
patrol guys. So yeah.
He licks his fingers like, magic hour, magic hour. Going to do something cool with the shotgun. But actually, they don't manage to kill him doing that. But well, they would have, but
Yeah.
for some reason, I don't know. We'll talk about the dynamics of alien possession and like why this works and that doesn't later.
Cut to the hospital. Jack is alive but unconscious, and he's being kept on life support. A doctor complains about them keeping him alive as being cruel, and then Cliff Willis, played by Edo Ross, who a very striking guy.
Yes.
He's kind of a character actor. He had a crazy, I gotta look this up because he had like a crazy 1987. Let's see, what did he do in 1987? He did this. He did Lethal Weapon.
Was he in RoboCop?
Maybe. Let me look. Because there's another one he's
I
in.
recognized him.
Oh, okay. So this is what he did in 1987. Lethal Weapon, Full Metal Jacket, The Hidden, and then something called The Vern Miller Story. He plays Ralph Capone. I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a hell of a 1987 for one actor. I mean, he was probably working on Full Metal Jacket for like 3 years, and then that's just where it ended up getting released. So
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick is notorious for just hijacking actors' times, and because it's Stanley Kubrick, it's like, well, I'm going to be a movie star after this, even though almost nobody ever is after working with Kubrick. It's like, that's a great performance. This might be the only time you're nominated for an Oscar, but you're not going to be a movie star.
We're going to remember you. He was not in RoboCop. I was thinking of another guy. But he is the face on the VHS box cover.
Yeah, he's got like kind of like this weird sharp nose and like striking blue eyes. He's definitely a guy. It's like, who is that guy? So he's like made to be a character actor because he kind of looks weird, and he makes you go like, who is that guy? Yeah, this movie's like basically full of character actors.
Yeah.
But anyways, the doctors complain about like, it's cruel to keep this guy alive, and Willis tells him like all the crap he did, and he's like, hey, he killed 2 kids with a butcher knife. It's like, we're taking it, we're gonna keep this guy alive and put him in jail. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's just been robbing places and stealing Ferraris. So Ferraris are his favorite. We cut to the police department, and then some department heads are arguing over who gets Beck in their department. It's like, I don't know, I think this is just a way to like kind of big up Beck as being like, like he's the best detective, and like every department would fall apart if we don't have them. But they're like, one guy just wants them to like set up the senator security detail, and the other guy's like, no, we need him on homicide because we have way too many homicides. Although in LA, I think it's a combination of, because it's called robbery homicide, right? They're put together. So I don't know how that works, but I just remember there was a show called Robbery Homicide. I was like, what's that about? It's like, is this people that get killed at robberies? It's like, no, it's a combination of.
Usually these crimes run together, so they just have a unit of specialists.
Yeah. Well, also I was like thinking about like, small towns. It's like, all right, like a small town doesn't have a devoted like homicide police force. So oftentimes it's like somebody has to come in from a bigger city to do like a homicide investigation rather than like your local sheriffs. Sometimes I don't know how that works. I don't know what happens when somebody gets murdered in a small town, like who comes and what happens. But there was another TV show that was like a thing where it's like it was actually based on a Swedish show, but in the American version it's in Portland. It's like, they don't have a homicide division, but there's the guy who's like working in like, he like works in what do you call it, like he's like a traffic cop, but he's like their best homicide detective because they don't have a homicide division.
Yeah.
So whenever there is a murder, they get him in. I think it was called Mud or something like that. I can't remember. Or no, I can't remember. It was it starred the guy from one of the guys from The Office. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. It was like Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He was the detective with a really bad attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a genius.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he was on like traffic patrol, because he was always in trouble and that was his punishment. But like whenever there was a homicide, it's like, well, he's the genius, we got to get him in, so we're going to tolerate him for a while. Because like, Law and Order makes sense. It's like, actually I don't know how many homicides happen, but you think New York, like, well, there's got to be at least a homicide once a day.
Yeah. Actually wouldn't be outsized depending on their number.
But I don't know. I don't know. It's like, fire departments, like it's, when it's smaller, it's like a volunteer thing, which I don't know how that works. But like if it's a bigger city, it's, you're on duty all the time, but also like, hey, fires don't happen all day. So sometimes you're just at the firehouse working out or whatever firemen do, cleaning the fire truck. And then, of course, some libertarian sees that and is like, give me my money back.
Immediately.
It's like, all right, dude. Well, next time your house burns down, you can get your third party, privately owned fire department to come out and help you out.
They'll show up once the fire's out. Okay, we get paid either way. That's the beauty of capitalism, right?
Then we have Lloyd Gallagher shows up. This Kyle McLaughlin. He's an FBI agent, and he shows up looking for Beck, played by Michael Nouri. Beck is annoyed by the intrusion on his cases, so he goes and hands his case over to the ginger, who's like, no, don't put that on my desk.
I haven't seen my wife in 3 months, and then everyone's like, I saw her last night. She's fine.
Great.
She's getting a little fat, though. Is she drinking too much beer? It's like the worst kind of weird locker room.
Of course,
we're all guys here.
Yeah. And then, of course, Kyle MacLachlan is playing like a weird, sort of emotionally stunted FBI agent from Seattle, which is weird because this predates Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not the same character.
MacLachlan's from is that part of the world?
I don't know. Maybe.
Let me look real quick.
He's not like
he's
secret.
Yakima, Washington.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, he's the Pacific Northwest. Human.
I think he was on like Portlandia a bunch too.
Yeah,
like,
he was the mayor of Portland.
Okay.
He's always doing something weird, like you threw away paper wrong. I've got to exile myself. Or that kind of crap. It was something like that.
Yeah. So Beck and Lloyd are both looking for Jack. Lloyd leaves when he finds out Jack is in the hospital. We cut to Jack waking up in the hospital. He goes over to the patient next to him and releases some sort of parasitic alien through his mouth to the other patient. And it's a very violent transfer.
Yeah, it's like he throws a slug up into the other guy's mouth.
Yeah, but like the size of like an anaconda or something.
Yeah, it's this giant slug.
And it's like, of course it's just full of slime, and like the effects here are pretty well done. I mean, they're like both like dummies and stuff, but it still looks terrifying and realistic enough.
It horrified one of the actors that saw it in the post. They were like, that's because I guess they made a mock-up of his head, and there was just a guy's arm inside the slug just forcing that slug into the mock-up of his head. And he's like, that's gross. It really doesn't show it that closely in the movie. This isn't like a super gory movie.
No.
There's a few things that happen, but
kind of here in
the special effects of that were they were borrowed from The Thing.
Oh, okay.
The kind of cicada effect, like when the dog turned into the dog fly.
Oh yeah, the noises is like
that was borrowed from The Thing. They actually give credit. They're like, yeah, we got that from The Thing.
The new guy wakes up. He's having a cardiac. They cut to like it's kind of a moment later. Jack is on the ground dead, and then we see the other guy having a cardiac arrest. Then he just kind of wakes up and leaves the hospital. So now it's like, oh, he's transferring. This thing is transferring bodies and just using people.
Yeah.
Lloyd comes in to see Jack dead, and then Lloyd follows up at the hospital on like the new guy whose name is Jonathan Miller, and so now he's after him. So now you kind of know. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So this guy knows that this thing transfers, but I don't. Did you already know like there's two aliens chasing each other, or
no? I thought when I watched this movie, I thought, oh, this guy is from the FBI. But it's like he's like he hunts aliens for the FBI. Like it was okay. But this was before X-Files, so it was like I just thought he was a government person who maybe wasn't being honest about.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a bad criminal. Like that's the cover, but no, we know it's an alien. We just have to get rid of it.
Because that's kind of the thing I was thinking about too. Because I'd never because I always know the twist, so I never got to see this movie for the first time, not knowing that. So I was wondering if that kind of like makes the movie a bit more interesting when that twist kind of happens.
Yeah, I mean, you don't expect. I mean, you'd actually after a while you do because he has like the weird gun, like the energy weapon. And once you see that, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, that's not like FBI stuff, or maybe our government has it, but that looks like we'd make it look like a gun.
Yeah,
it would just be like mirrors or something instead of a barrel. But yeah, I remember thinking for a while, it's like, oh, this guy is like FBI. But then once they go ride around in his car, you kind of get suspicious. Like, wait, there's something similar here.
Then we cut to Miller stealing tapes at a music store. Yeah. And then Miller beats up the store clerk, kills him, steals money and a gun and a boombox.
Yep.
Which that was a thing in the 80s. There's also that thing in Star Trek, what's number 4 called? The Voyage Home. Where there was a guy with a boombox that was annoying. So that was a real thing in the 80s of boomboxes and people being annoying.
Yep.
I don't really remember that time, so I don't know if that was a problem or just something manufactured for Hollywood.
I think it was something probably imagined.
Okay.
Because remember, they also used to call boomboxes ghetto blasters. Like that was the bad name for them because you knew what you were implying by saying that. It's like, where do they play the ghetto blasters? Well, we know where. So we know what kind of music's being played and who's doing it, and so it's immediately like a bad. Like we need cops to deal with it. When they have the loud music, it's time for the police to show up and set everyone straight.
So now Lloyd is on the lookout for Miller. Beck gets a call on the music store murder. Lloyd's already there, like questioning witnesses, and then Beck pulls him aside. He's like, "Hey, man, you're like intruding on territory. I thought you're done here. Your guy's dead." And he's like, "No, like they knew each other. Like this is connected." We have a witness that identifies Miller. Now Beck is more inclined to believe Lloyd, but he's still skeptical of how he came up with the connection between Jack and Miller. Floyd says Miller changes his identity, commits crimes, and then repeats the process. But he doesn't tell him like how that happens. He's just like, no, it's the same guy, just changing his identity. Which is basically the only way you could say that out loud and have it kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Because I love that the guy's just like, no, I can't tell you what's going on. You won't believe me. And then when they eventually have that, he doesn't believe them because, like, yeah, see, it doesn't matter. And then they head out in Floyd's Porsche, who's Beck is like, I didn't know the feds paid people this much. And he's like, how much did you pay for it? And he's like, oh, I didn't. And he's like, I stole it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of implied as a joke, but no, it's true. He just stole it.
Yeah, and he's driving a Porsche 928S, the car in this movie.
That's a really nice looking, quaint car. So.
Yeah, those are interesting cars. I mean, they had big engines in them for Porsches. Some of them got up to 5.4 liter V8s, which is a huge engine for a car that small.
Well, the interior looked like it was like somewhat comfortable, and it was a fast car. It was like, the Ferraris, you're basically like sitting in a tub.
Yeah, no,
going 200 miles.
Yeah. So I sat one, and I was like, yeah, I'll never drive one of these.
So that being the end of Act 1 is that now we know the sort of like, okay, there's this alien on the loose, and they're chasing him. We know it transfers between bodies. So you have Act 2. We cut to Miller is at like a diner. And he's listening to loud music and eating, but like only the waitress seems to be annoyed by it. She's like, "Turn that down."
Are kind of scaring at him.
For some reason, Miller sees a like a broadcast of like a politician, and he turns down the radio to pay attention to that. But that's just kind of a plot point for later on. But here they don't state it out loud. It's just kind of like, yeah, keep this in mind. But then Miller has some like stomach problems where like people come here and farting and his like stomach grumbling, and that's when people look at him like, oh, what's going on with this guy? They don't care that he's listening to like heavy metal music or anything like that.
Yes, farting is really getting to me. It's the death metal or whatever it was back then.
Then he sees a Ferrari, and he like begins a foot chase to go chase down the Ferrari, but his body isn't cooperating because this guy was like in the hospital for various medical conditions, so his body can't chase down a Ferrari on foot.
Well, essentially his stomach is falling apart, and he's in the midst of like all kinds of heart problems.
Yeah. We got Lloyd and Beck are arguing because Floyd is obviously withholding something because obviously he's not going to tell them that they're chasing an alien. And then we cut to Miller. They're at a Ferrari dealership, and he says he wants a Ferrari. And so like the guy's going to buy a Ferrari, and then the car salesman gets the muscle to come out to kick him out, and then Miller fights back and shoots the guy. He just kind of punches him and then just like puts a pistol like right to his chest and pulls the trigger. And then we cut to the car salesman and customer are doing coke while finalizing the Ferrari deal. And then Miller comes in, gets the keys, and then shoots everybody. Then he drives away, and it was a red Mondial or Monda. I'm not sure how you say it. Is that the?
Yeah, it's the Mondial 3.2 Cabriolet. This one they did not have permission to damage in any way, so it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
They don't do a lot with it except one scary like fast exit from the tackiest Ferrari dealership you could imagine. The sleaziest Ferrari dealership you've ever seen.
Then we show Miller like kind of cruising for women. Apparently, I don't know. That's just kind of there.
The characters, like the alien doesn't seem to exactly understand what's going on, or it seems curious about things.
Yeah.
And so, it's doing weird things like, let's cruise for chicks. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, I'm dying. Go to the guy who was buying the Ferrari who I shot. Let's go to his import business, and he happens to be like an arms dealer too. Great.
Because we have Floyd telling Beck that Miller killed his partner. Beck is surprised that he's that the FBI lets him on a revenge case. Essentially, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think the FBI
Sounds
does
very
that.
FBI, yeah.
So that's again like, yeah, it isn't. Miller bursts into. I wrote like some apartment, but apparently this is like the guy's hideout where it's like, because there's also something that says like wash hands. So it's like acts like it's a business too. There's a bunch of like I don't know, like Asian decoration around, and then just like a closet full of guns. So this guy's just an illegal arms merchant.
Yeah.
So so that's convenient for him because he's just gonna grab a bag full of guns and go out. Because like, I mean, this alien is basically just kind of like, even though it's not a true thing, but as you know it as when you say something is like pure id, where it's just following all of its desires and doesn't care about any consequences or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't interact with people very well or communicate clearly. And well, I imagine it completely lacks empathy.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, like, because there is no, well, like I said, the strength and the weakness of this too is there is no exposition really.
Yeah.
It's like, so are these things just born to like possess bodies and kill? Is that their purpose? It doesn't seem to be, or is this just a bad seed alien? Like, is this a sociopath alien that got loose, or is that whole species like that, or you don't know.
Yeah, because there's time where it's like it's kind of fun with the alien. It's like, yeah, I like Ferraris too, cruising around shooting guns, and then but it's like when it starts murdering people just because like they're in the way, like that's when it's like, all right, well, we can't accept that. Like now we need to stop it. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, because we see from like Gallagher, like he likes to drive fast and break the laws too on when it comes to speeding. Like these aliens, even though you come to find out they're not even the same thing, like they like to, they like fast cars, they like guns. So there must be something about them, or maybe that's just any species that rises to a point where it becomes interstellar, must have a violent background because that's how you get to the top of a food chain. I don't know.
Well, no, I think this is a joke from multiple movies from the 80s. This was in Starman, I know, also, and probably somewhere else. Is that like in the part where Floyd is speeding is because he sees a yellow light, and from his observation in the world, when the light turns yellow, you speed up. Nobody told him that, but that's what aliens figure out when they have to end up driving on Earth. It's like, if it turns yellow, speed up, because that's what people actually do. It's like, I'm not stopping for this light. Gun it. If I speed up fast enough, I'm not running a red light. I'm speeding through a yellow. I mean, that's what I got. It's not explicitly stated, but I just remember in Starman they explicitly state that, because the lady is like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Well, it's yellow, you speed up."
Yeah, that's what it means, right? By watching you. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, so if we're at the gun house, Miller finds a room full of rifles. Also, this is where we see that Miller's host's body is dying and it's rejecting the parasite. He's like just bleeding, and like there's like a little snake thing that comes out of his arm or whatever.
Yeah, he has to like duct tape his arm shut. So the thing that he is not trying to come out. It's like, well, you can't control yourself. Like that's the parasite's tentacle, but it's a weird scene. It does remind you, like, oh yeah, there's something evil at work here.
Then we come back to the precinct. Sanchez, who's played by Richard Brooks, who was like on Law and Order for like 6 seasons. So you've seen this guy.
Like that, yeah. This guy was born to be a cop.
He comes up with a flamethrower that they'd pulled off the streets, and that's just a thing for later on. It's kind of fun because they're like, "What the hell are you doing with a flamethrower?" It's like, "Isn't this neat?" And they're like, "I guess."
Yeah, it is kind of cool actually. I don't understand how it works, but yeah, it looks like it would be good for like 1-2 shots, but it doesn't take much with a flamethrower. You couldn't pay me $1,000 to hold that in my hands, let alone fire it. But okay, that's cool.
It's got like 3 tanks on it. Like, are they all the same thing? Or are they all doing something different?
I mean, I know how, like, you've got I know a flame tank, you have like or in a flamethrower, like a backpack unit, you have like a pressurizer and then fuel. Usually have 2 tanks, so the fuel goes down at the same rate, so the guy's balance isn't off. But then the third outer tank is usually a pressurizer just to throw it out.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't want to put like flammable fluids under high pressure and then shoot it out the front. Because then, like, yeah, wait till that gets shot with a bullet. Let's go to the human bomb. At least that's what I understand about how flamethrowers work. I don't understand much. I'm not an expert. So anyone listening, please, I don't need people knocking on my door like, you can come out with your hands up. Just telling you from what I see in TV and movies.
Then Floyd gets invited to dinner at Beck's house.
For the most awkward, weird dinner.
Floyd's awkwardly staring at himself in the mirror and feels his face. So this is probably like the first time where he's like, oh, he's an alien if you really know what's going on.
Yeah, in case you weren't paying attention.
Lloyd meets Barbara and Juliet. It's a weird exchange.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Which
I
makes
understand, like, he thinks like, oh, okay, it's like this guy's just trying to socialize, but he's also, I don't know how much when this movie, I don't know what kind of direction the actors got. Because it seems like they just told Kyle MacLachlan's like, yeah, just be weird, whatever.
Yeah, I think everyone else got directions, and then Kyle MacLachlan was left off on a leash. Like, you do what you want. Everyone else is going to follow the script. And then, like, when that happens, everybody gets awkward. It's like, you're not supposed to say that. It's like, wait a minute. That's how this works. Well, it's also supposed to be a thing, like, later on, he says, like, he lost his wife and kid, so this is kind of supposed to be like, oh, wife and kid, like, I know what this is like, which makes the ending actually like weird and sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we see Miller driving by the strip club, and then it's time for the awkward dinner. And Floyd says he's somewhere that sounds like an alien world, because he just says states that out loud as he tries to figure out how, like, eating like mashed peas and and I don't know, like salmon patties.
Yeah, he's having a real 80s meal. But apparently he doesn't eat wherever he's from. Yeah, because he says he's from someplace that sounds like Arabic, almost like Magan, or it's like, where's that? It's Northern California. Like, I've never heard of that. That's there, and that's how he ends like conversations. Like, yeah, it's there or something. He's always good. There's a really weird character, but it makes sense because he's not a human. So.
Yeah. Then this is where he explains that his wife and daughter were killed by the Miller parasite or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the strip club. Here we have Brenda Lee Van Buren. That's the character's name, played by Claudia Christian. She's dancing on stage. Then we see Miller is at the bar drinking and bleeding onto the counter. And he's also got a bag full of guns, Apparently the bouncer let that in.
Yeah, come on in. Bag full of guns, what could go wrong?
A strip club?
Yeah, a bunch of drunk, angry men who aren't going to have sex tonight. Hand one out to everyone. Just make sure it's loaded.
Here I have a character actor watch update. We have Jack McGee as the bartender, who you've seen in everything.
Yeah, everything. As soon as I saw it, I was like, God, that guy. He got his $500 today.
I don't even know, like, what would be his most famous role?
I can't even. Yeah.
Well, I remember, like, one of the ones we did recently. We did Basic Instinct. He's like the sheriff in that, where like they go looking Sharon Stone's character is like, was she checked in here? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he's there. But yeah, this guy's literally in like 200 things. So yeah, he's a big character actor. I don't know, what is he? Is he like from Boston? That kind of, I don't know like where he's from. That's the kind of like vibe I get off him. He's like some surly
he
Bostonite.
seems like East Coast guy.
Yeah.
Angry East Coast, like a mob hanger-on. This guy's persona.
But anyway, he's just a bartender for a scene. So, but he stands out. He just comes up to him. It's like, "Hey, you okay, buddy? You're pale." And like he's visibly looking at the blood all over the counter. And he's like, "Hey, you're pale."
Yeah, bleeding out. Cool? No, I feel fine. Great dialogue delivered by, because whoever this guy, the actor who plays, I've seen that guy in everything.
Do you think oh shit, who's the guy from Full Metal Jacket that shoots himself?
Edo Ross? Or no. What's his name? Oh yeah. Drawing a blank.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. I'm trying to I'm not Full Metal.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, I found the same time.
Do you think he took any clues from this guy's performance for Men in Black?
Maybe.
Because I was thinking about that. Like, he has like this kind of weird, like, like his shoulders like move his body, his head does.
Yeah, I think there are some similarities there, but I think the actor's name's William Boyett. I think William Boyett took a lot of his cues from the Naked Gun serials in the 70s. From what's that guy's name? Leslie
Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen, because he acts like Leslie Nielsen, kind of, but he's really awkward. But the way he delivers dialogue is like, oh, he's doing Leslie Nielsen for the Naked Gun TV show. So yeah, that could be that there is a chain from Leslie Nielsen through this guy to Vincent D'Onofrio. Or this is just how actors like, you're an alien, act awkward. Okay, this is how I'm gonna deliver my dialogue.
Well, it's what makes this antagonist interesting is that he's kind of funny too, the way he does stuff.
He's very direct, but in a ridiculous way, seemingly nonsense fashion. I want the car. It's like, just saying that's not going to get you what you want. I mean, you're very demonstrative in what you want, but it's like your plan is just mass murder to get to there.
Because I think that's actually, I think that's interesting about it is like they are kind of logicking the character out, because I figure like in lesser hands or more unrestrained hands, this character would be like have a huge personality, but it really doesn't here. It's just kind of like chasing down like it's id or whatever. Yeah,
it's there's no like inner monologue. It's just like drive, kill, drive, kill. It's like, why are you doing this? Just to kill? Like,
have you driven and killed before? If you knew, you wouldn't ask me that question.
Well, it just goes like, that's just like, because that's also like baseline humanity, and especially like baseline me. Like, I'm really fascinated by speed and destruction. Now, there are things that limit it. One is the fact that I'm mortal, and the other thing is like that costs money and prison. But yeah, if I could like drive things really fast or just shoot a car until it exploded, it would make my day. Awesome. As long as I don't want to kill people, though.
Yeah.
But I do want to see things go really fast and watch them just get destroyed. That's why, like, if like Terminator robots were real and you could control them, it would be the best thing ever. Because it's just like, yeah, just get on a motorcycle, drive as fast as you can, and like jump into the front of a semi. It's like the best, coolest stuff ever. As long as no one's getting killed.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. It's like F-16. What happens if it hits the ground at like twice the speed of sound? Find out. It's like, because it's cool, not to experience but to see.
Yeah,
you don't want to be inside the damn thing.
No, yeah, like you said, you don't want people die, but you want to see expensive machinery eat shit and fly apart.
Oh yeah, I love like, things being destroyed. It's just like those massive mining things they use in Germany to get all the coal. They're like as tall as a building.
Yeah.
and they move those coal shovels. I would love to see one of those like just run into the red line, just to watch the whole thing just come apart, just because it would be amazing. No, there's no sense in it. It's like this has got to be destroyed just because it would be cool to see something that big, like just to see that arm break off and just fall, because it sounds like a building, like a tree, you know, and it's just gonna hit the ground like a bomb went off. It's like, yeah, I like stuff like that.
Are those
This
videos?
this thing just lives in that world. Like
Yeah.
that's it. That's like a breakfast and dinner right there. But then there's the murder aspect of it, which makes it dark.
Yeah. I always like the radio controlled commercial airplane test crashes. We'll fly it into like a desert and see what happens. Like, you know, no one's on board, so that's really cool. Watch a 747 eat shit in the desert.
Yeah, like when they made that when they introduced the new less flammable fuel for commercial aircraft, it's like, how are we going to test this? Take a 747, fill it with weighted dummies, and we're just going to fly it into specially made barricades in the desert where it will specifically rupture the fuel tanks in the wing. It's like, how the hell are we going to do that? Remote control. We're going to have cameras everywhere. It's going to be a one and done multi-million-dollar test involving the U.S. government, 3 lottery winners, a former pope, everything. We're doing it all. And it's one of the coolest things you'll ever see. That's exactly what that happens. That plane kind of goes in, they bring it in sideways, the things clip the wings, the fuel spills out everywhere. It kind of flashes over, but then it doesn't burn. But then they did one with the old fuel, and it's like the thing's complete aluminum skeleton in 5 minutes. Like we can't have any more of that. That is bad.
Some patrol finds a stolen Ferrari. Beck gets a call in the middle of the night. So Beck wakes up Floyd and he gives him some Alka-Seltzer. This is funny because he doesn't know how to use Alka-Seltzer. He starts chewing on it. He's like, you got to put it in the water first, which actually I kind of empathize with, or that's not the right word, or sympathize, whatever. I don't think I had Alka-Seltzer till I was like 32. I mean, I know how it works from like commercials for it, but I never had it till then. But
I often wondered with Alka-Seltzer if there was more power. Like if you just swallow it whole, you drink a lot of water. It's like you're activating it at the source. It's like spraying water on, or spraying fire extinguisher at the base of the fire instead of the middle of it. Because if you're doing it outside your body, well, you're spraying it at the middle of it. But if you take the Alka-Seltzer and then drink, but I never had the courage to do it because I figured, oh, some flap will close and my stomach will explode or something. Like there's some reason you shouldn't do that, you know.
Well, the only one Alka-Seltzer I've used was like cold and flu stuff, which is that what regular Alka-Seltzer is meant for, or what's its purpose?
When you eat too much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically a I forget what this suppresses acid.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's like a billion ways to do that now, but Alka-Seltzer was because it used bromine. That was the chemical. That's why you have to dissolve it in water.
Okay.
That's why like things like Pepto-Bismol and Tums, which came along, were a lot easier because they used different chemicals to. You didn't have to go through some science experiment to relieve your indigestion.
Now, let me get this vote on the podcast. There's only 2 of us here. Do you kind of like the taste of Pepto-Bismol, or is it completely or do you completely hate it?
No, I kind of like it.
Okay, because that's how I kind of like it. And there's like, I don't think anybody's ever taken advantage of like, because it's hard to describe. It's like almost bubble gum, but not. And it's like there should be people making Pepto-Bismol flavored things.
Yeah,
like vodka or something. Get your Pepto vodka.
I see. Pepto-Bismol has it has something. It's called Bismuth, and I forget what that does. It's some kind of it's an anti-inflammatory, essentially.
Yeah.
Just say that. But there's something that it does, because it also like destroys bacteria. And but yeah, the reason it has a weird taste and stuff like that is because it's like that's the best they can make that that taste, because it's actually like the bismuth is actually like a black, like tarry liquid.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they have to really dye the hell out of it, and because it can make your stool black, it can make your it can turn your tongue a dark color. Um, but yeah, that's because the more, I'll tell you what, if you like the flavor of Pepto Bismol, the more generic the Pepto Bismol, like if you go off brand, the more intense that flavor is. Using less refined ingredients. That's why it's generic cost. It's not just because they're not paying for advertising; they're using less refined ingredients to get the same. Yeah, but if you go like if you have like a work first aid kit, and it has something in it called Bismo Pop or so, it's like you know what it is. It's pink, but it's off brand. It's like that'll be really intense pepper.
We see
we totally went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. But we have a antagonist with stomach problems, and he doesn't. Well, we were talking about Alka-Seltzer, but now we're back to Miller, whose body's being rejected. He grabs Brenda in the back room, and then he takes her over off screen. We don't see that happen.
Yeah.
Really, like all the takeovers from here on out, they're all off screen.
It's too expensive.
Yeah. Brenda walks out of the place in a revealing red dress with a bag full of guns.
Yep.
She gets hit on some drunk guy who I was assuming owned a Lamborghini because he has a Lamborghini jacket, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is there a Lamborghini in this movie too? It's like, no, just in the showroom. Easiest car dealership that ever sold $100,000 cars.
Detectives go over to Miller's dead body. Then we cut to Brenda's having sex with a guy and kills him, or whatever was happening there.
Yeah, it looks like sex, but I don't know how you kill a guy with sex.
I think she just choked him to death or whatever, but
yeah.
But they don't get in close or anything like that. They don't show you like what does an alien know about like human anatomy? It's like probably not much. So but they don't get in close to that and play that joke off. They just have him die. It's like
yeah.
And then she steals his car and takes off. I don't know. She has like an old Buick or something.
That's a '78 Cadillac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah. Cadillacs are cool. So guess she'd probably enjoy that. Brenda gets chased by a patrol car. Then she stops and then she gets out and she like feels herself up for a bit and then pulls out a shotgun while the cops are distracted and unloads it at the cops. Floyd and Beck catch up to Brenda. They see the guys, like the other guys. This is like they have some sort of like Chevelle cop car or something, but they didn't get hit or anything. But they're hiding away from getting shot at, which just makes sense.
Yeah.
But they catch up. They catch up to Brenda. It's a chase and a shootout. Beck is trying to shoot the tires out, and then Floyd's like, "Why don't you just shoot the tires out?" This is like, "What the hell do you think I'm doing?" Then Floyd like gets out while driving and shooting at the same time, and he gets the tire on the second shot, and then the Cadillac crashes into like a fashion shop. And then Beck and Floyd are like carefully moving their way into the creepy back room full of mannequins, so they're like getting behind cover and stuff like that, which I always appreciate that. It builds tension, and it's like what somebody would do. It's like, I'm not wearing body armor. This person's way more heavily armed than I am. Like, let's take this carefully, one corner at a time.
Yeah. And then they have that weird thing when they're going in where he's Beck's like telling Gallagher, he's like, "I'll cover you," and Gallagher's like, "I wish you wouldn't." That is like, it'd go better if you didn't. Like he doesn't have any confidence in his marksmanship.
Oh! I thought he was just. I thought he didn't understand the concept of covering.
Yeah, it could be that.
It's like how's that going to help if you're like holding on to me? It's like no.
I thought it was because of his inability to shoot a moving vehicle from another moving vehicle's tires out. From behind, not from the side, from behind.
And I don't know. Do you think with this alien possession stuff, do they retain any of the knowledge from the host? Do you think, or is that completely gone?
I'm not really sure. I don't. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's just like a death of the host.
Okay.
Kind of like when the butterflies took people over in Peacekeeper. It's like, yeah, it just erases whatever they were.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming.
Then Brenda opens fire with her shotgun. Beck sees her take like several gunshots without flinching, so he's like, "This is weird."
Yeah. And this is what I don't understand. I mean, I get it, like you need the special ray gun and it's alien anatomy. Like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but it's a MacGuffin, whatever. This is what you have to do. But human beings still have like hearts and lungs and nervous systems. And I don't know how the alien is controlling it so completely. Like, you can just take a shotgun blast to the chest and keep on moving. It's like, no, they're going to shut down. They can't. Their body doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, like, I could understand, like, okay, it could technically still move as long as there's blood in there or whatever. But, like, they never get into, like, the dynamics of, like,
no.
Well, what if you just shoot the knee out? Like, it can't move if the knee's not there, but they don't get into that. That's just kind of
it was kind of weird watching it this time because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And it's like, oh yeah, she's soaking up a lot of damage that she shouldn't. And also there's a big slug in there somewhere. Isn't it also soaking up damage?
Yeah.
Because those are just kinetic impact. I mean, kinetic impact weapons, no matter whether you're using gunpowder or whatever to throw them, like that alien can't like displace that force into the universe somehow. It's got to be absorbed or deflected in some way. That's why guns will work 1,000 years from now, because it's like, well, you can't really stop them unless you're like manipulating energy in some way we don't understand or something. But that doesn't seem to be going on here. But
no,
okay.
But again, they don't really get into the mechanics. No. It's up for you to figure that out.
That's why this is like a B movie and not yeah, this won an Academy Award for the thought that went into it. It's like, no, it's just cool to watch.
Well, even if they explained everything, I don't think that necessarily like make it an A movie. Like,
no.
But I don't know. That's a hard thing to do because there's a lot of movies they throw in an exposition to fix a lot of stuff, and it doesn't make the movie better. In fact, it makes it worse. So they just took the restraint. It's like, well, we know the movie we're making. Let's not make everything obvious.
Well, there's viewers that like footnotes, and there's viewers that don't. The viewers that don't outnumber the viewers that do, because I don't mind exposition as long as it's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes that's the best part of a movie. It's like, what's going on here? Like it's great in The Matrix because you're like, what's going on here? And they explain everything, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's good exposition. Whereas I don't think an alien anatomy lesson in the middle of this movie would like, oh, that really goes with the flow of everything.
Brenda tosses a shotgun and then makes her way to the roof with a Styrohawk.
Yep.
As I always remember, it's like first seeing that in Die Hard, but this predates Die Hard. So I'm not sure what's the first. I don't know what the first time that appeared in a movie, but it was definitely in the 80s. So
yeah, I mean, the Styrohawk came out in like the 70s. So
okay.
I think it was probably worked its way into armors in Hollywood probably by the mid 80s. And it looks futuristic. Too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a Glock. Like, it's a future gun. It's like it was made in the 70s,
dude. There's a rooftop shootout. Beck gets shot, and he, like, falls into, like, a hang off the roof.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, scary-looking quick fall. Like, oh, shit. Forgot about this one.
Yeah, and he gets shot in the shoulder, so he's like can't really hang on that well.
Yeah, he's not really. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of to hold on to.
Brenda again takes a bunch of shots, and then Floyd pulls out some weird gun.
Brenda has no central nervous system at this point. Still trucking along.
Well, Brenda starts convulsing, and then she just runs and jumps off the roof through a neon sign, which is cool.
Yeah, it is one of the best like movie suicide off the roof things I've ever seen.
And then Floyd saves Beck from falling, and then we cut to like a dog gets to Brenda's bodies first, and then Brenda grabs the dog and presumably transfers to it.
The dog is also the lieutenant's dog who showed up on scene
Yeah.
because it ran away from him like a bad dog, and look what happens. Now you have an alien slug.
Oh, this dog really does some acting. They really ask a lot out of this dog.
Yeah, it's probably a really smart dog.
Because they have the dog basically convey like hate towards somebody, which is interesting. Which I don't know. They were like waving a duck at it off screen. It's like it starts flaring its teeth. Beck's mad at Floyd because he wants the truth out of him. And Floyd's just like an explanation won't help. So Floyd walks away and Beck has him arrested. So have that being the end of Act 2. Because they don't get the alien, and now he's in jail. So we have Act 3. We're back at the precinct. Beck's rifle shot to the shoulder seems to be healing and just fine. I mean, they even show like where he's shot. It's like basically like the top, like it grazed his shoulder, but even way he has like a sling on. So it's either bad or he got a through and through. Either way, I don't know. It's still, I don't know. It's a movie shot,
I'm guessing the best we could say is it's a through and through.
Yeah. But yeah, there's no good way to get shot. But you can't ask that of Hollywood because you have to have people get in danger and then be fine the next scene to like heroically come back from.
Yeah,
from
we can't
danger.
do like a 3 months later after rehabilitation. Okay, we're gonna go get the bad guy.
Another detective comes in with info on Floyd. The FBI says he died in a forest fire, and then his partner Stone has stolen Floyd's identity because they have a picture of Stone. It's like, oh, that's Kyle MacLachlan. So, then we cut to the dog looking in the mirror, which that's a fun scene. It's like,
yeah.
And then it knocks out the lieutenant and presumably transferred bodies because it does. We cut back to the precinct. We have Beck is interviewing Floyd. Floyd says that all the people that they're chasing are a parasite from another world, and you can only kill it when it's outside the body with a special weapon. That's his weird ray gun. Beck doesn't believe him and locks him up.
Yeah. Which, this is like, yeah, that's pretty realistic. It's like, oh, okay, space people, right? Okay, bye.
Yeah, because in Beck's mind,
but
it's
if
like,
I saw a stripper take like a whole magazine of hollow points, I might and then voluntarily jump off a roof. It's like, there might be something weird going on here.
Well, he doesn't even ask him about like, hey, what happened? Because like the weird that goes by so quick. The idea is that like Floyd and Stone were out hunting, and then they get caught by a forest fire, but only Floyd dies, and he doesn't ask him like, hey, what happened to your partner? Why'd you steal his identity? Is the thing about your wife and child dead true? And none of that. Just kind of like, hey, what's going on with this thing? And then he tells him, and then
we're definitely, folks, making a lot more out of this movie. Watching it would indicate, which is kind of what we do on this show. But it's like definitely in this one we're like, oh yeah, we're explaining things and pointing out weird ideas and thinking, why did this happen? Why that happened? Really, this is just an accelerator to the floor action movie.
Beck goes home, and then Lieutenant John Masterson shows up at the precinct, newly infected. He's introduced to the senator's security team. And then we cut to a lab tech is like accidentally fires the alien gun and blows a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
John grabs the alien gun, a grenade, a rocket launcher, and a submachine gun. Then John takes Beck hostage, and the other detectives are like giving chase, and they shoot down John. And then Beck takes the alien weapon, but then like John gets back up and starts shooting a bunch of other cops. Beck steals a gun from a fellow cop, and he's like, go get a shotgun.
Over the stairs.
Beck goes to bust out Floyd out of jail. So he like basically the guy like guarding the jail, he basically like strong arms him. He's like, yeah, give me the keys. Like, there's also where he imply that like the transfer process kills the host. So there's nothing of the host left over, and when they leave, they can't go back to normal. It's just a husk essentially. At least that's all what we're told. Because this is quick. It's like, all right, explain everything to me in a firefight. So it's like you get 3 sentences. John comes after Floyd and Beck. He tosses a grenade at the guards. John calls Floyd by his alien name. And then suddenly Danny Trejo gets shot calling John a hippie. This is one of his early roles.
Hippies, man.
Bang. Which I looked up as because I most know him, but most famous from like Desperado. Like that's where I remember him first from. But I guess this is like his third role. He's there's Runaway Train was like one of his early movies.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So and then I looked up like so many things. Is like this might be he has like 440 things to his name. That's like this might be the guy who was in the most things with.
He's the hardest working guy in Hollywood.
And there's multiple kind of character actors. There's character actors who like, they kind of play weird different roles. They just kind of come in with a blank character and it's like, all right, do your magic. And then there's people like Danny Trejo where like they stand out so much. It's like, we don't have anything for this character. Go. And it's like because he stands out so much, you just put him in places because you will imply a lot because he's got a lived-in face and weird tattoos. So,
and I think was actually in prison at one time.
Yeah.
So he's like the real deal.
John pops around the corner with a rocket launcher. It's like, I got you. But then Beck shoots him in the head, and it kind of like ends up firing the rocket launcher like down the hallway. And then somehow John runs off with a head wound, but obviously,
somehow in this police locker, let's review this. We have alien gun. We have old World War II machine gun, grenade, a law rocket, which may or may not be in a police lockup in Los Angeles. I don't know. There's a lot of shit going on out there. And no, he pops around the corner. He says goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember it's kind of a weird line.
Yeah.
He's like, bye, and then he gets shot in the head. And then as he's reeling back, the rocket fires and basically blows an escape route for our heroes.
But, this does prove that, like, it's like the alien almost treats the body like a marionette rather than there's not like a vital part that can be hit. So it doesn't matter.
This is the first headshot that's revealed.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, that just destroyed the higher reasoning functions and the motor controls, but apparently the slug does all that. So,
but I mean, it does have to if it runs out of blood, then the body won't work. So that's right. The kind of the ticking time clock for the parasite is like, all right, let's get running out of blood. We got to get to the next host.
Now, both the aliens do agree that because they're having their conversation, and they do agree that like humans are better to be in because Altarians are filthy. It's like, well, okay, I don't know what that's all about.
It's up for your imagination of what that means.
We're always shedding cells and excreting waste and everything else. And I can tell you by the metal stuff I've owned and glasses and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, my body just eats everything eventually. It's like, I can't imagine what are Altarians. They just sweat acid.
Yeah, or they're just bugs or something.
Yeah.
Floyd shoots Beck with the alien weapon to show that it doesn't work on humans.
Yeah, this thing that blew a hole in a cement wall earlier when mishandled, he just fires it at Beck, and he's like illuminated in light, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, what is it? It's not programmed for human skin or something. He has some explanation.
Yeah.
The only explanation you get in this movie.
Yeah. It doesn't really make sense, but it's like it's sort of the dilemma for the movie. It's like it has to be out of the body for us to kill it. So that's like, okay, so you can't just kill the host. You gotta kill the host and then kill the parasite.
Well, it kind of saying the parasite kills the host when it leaves kind of lays the groundwork for like what happens later is like, oh, well, that guy was dead anyway.
Yeah. There's no recovery.
There's not like, well, you just killed that guy. Couldn't they brought him back? No.
They find John's body, and here they get a clue that Willis has probably been taken over. So yeah, Will shows up at like I'm not sure this is where the speech was supposed to be. This is Senator's big speech, or this was just the
Yeah,
hotel he was at, or something.
I think it's where the speech was supposed to be.
Okay. The security stopped Beck and Floyd because they're like running in with guns. They're like, hey,
Hey, you got to get those in a bag.
But then they alert the security that like Willis is there to, and he's after the senator. Willis shoots a cop, and the security team are like moving the senator away. Willis gets chased and shot a bunch. Here, Beck takes 2 to the chest by Willis. And then Willis gets to the senator. Beck is taken away on a gurney. And so it's like, oh, he's not doing well.
Yeah, he's like, this isn't a pass-through. Or if it did, it passed through a lung.
And then there's like a separate conference about like Willis, or what they described as Willis's attempted assassination on the senator. But here the senator announces he'll run for president, but it's the alien doing its weird delivery. It's like, I'll run for president, and everyone just like fills in the gaps like, that's kind of weird. What do you mean? And then they start clapping. He just has like the weird smile.
I want to be president. It's inspirational.
He almost died.
Now, the thing is, like, I don't understand, like, his aide or whatever. Now, she was in a closet, but it
Yeah.
had shutters on it. So she just heard what happened.
Yeah.
She's just, like, cool with it. Like, hey, if I don't say anything, maybe this thing won't kill me.
Yeah, we're going to the White House with this thing.
Yeah, literally, this thing.
And then Floyd comes in. He's like running past security guards, like getting shot all the way. Floyd gets to the senator and then pulls out the cool little flamethrower and hits him with a flamethrower.
Which I'm guessing was fully charged when it was put in the lock.
This is a very violent scene of a guy getting engulfed.
This movie's like, this is where it's R rating.
The body is like charred and melting, and then you see the parasite starting to leave the body, and then Floyd hits it with the alien gun, and the parasite blows up, and then Floyd passes out.
Yeah.
We fade out, then we fade in at the hospital. Barbara's crying over like an unspoken diagnosis of Beck. Floyd makes his way to Beck, who like he's like flatlining in front of Floyd. And then Floyd transfers himself to Beck, but it's not the weird like anaconda parasite. It's just like glowing mist that transfers. So it's like, oh, so these must be different aliens that have like same kind of takeover method, or different methods, but different aliens, but the same kind of like we have hosts parasitically or whatever. Or if this is like the good version of the same kind of aliens, we don't know.
Yeah, if you're a good guy, you don't turn into a slug. You're just like kind of Star Trek light thing that everyone can feel good about.
The doctors come in. They find Floyd dead on the ground, but Beck is alive. Barbara is happy, but then the daughter senses something weird. And then this is supposed to be like and it's supposed to be this way. It's like, this is the happy ending because like the one guy is going to be alive, but it's like we know that like the hosts don't survive the transfer, so now Beck is just going to have to mimic his way as this person's like the father of this family, and that's not going to work out. So it's why it's a bizarre, weird, not really happy ending, which is kind of interesting. Fade out.
Are we sure Beck was going to die, or was this just the alien taking its tribute? Like, well, I killed the thing that was going to be elected president, so now I get to take this guy's identity.
Yeah, I get my wife and kid back in a weird way, but it's like that's not really a good thing.
No. Thanks, Beck. You took one for the team big time.
Which is it. There is a sequel to this movie called Hidden 2, and it is. I saw it on Sci-Fi Channel one time. It is a very bad movie, but the interesting follow up is that Beck basically, it's like it didn't work out. He ends up divorcing his wife, and nobody likes him because that wasn't gonna work out.
Yeah. But
then they kill him, and a different alien shows up, and it's just not a good movie. So
I'd never even bothered to watch it. So.
Yeah. But yeah, Hidden. It's a cool little sci-fi 80s movie that you may have not seen.
Yeah, you should see it. I mean, it's a good movie. And when I do like research on it, though, I hear people like, oh, this needs to be remade. I'm like, no, 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 come on, no, it doesn't.
I mean, it could, but I don't know.
I think it's kind of perfect for what it is and as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be made today. Just they'd probably give the alien more character, and it just end up being like almost like a Joker kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, this is the perfect character because it had none. That's what made it scary. It's like, oh, this thing just wants to kill and destroy. Like, there's
Yeah.
no, like, it's
more
not robbing banks or it's not for any purpose other than mayhem.
It's like it's like if it's weird. It's like an animal, but if an animal liked stuff.
Yeah.
If an animal liked fast cars and guns.
Yeah, it's just whatever its base nature is, amplified through something intelligent and scary because you don't know why stockbrokers and bankers are suddenly turning into murderous psychopaths. It's like, well, they're not really, but you wouldn't know that.
But yeah, I think I was from it's probably the first time I saw the movie like all the way through, but I was actually surprised how restrained it was for like an 80s movie.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
It's. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying it was restrained for an 80s movie, and it was, and it doesn't spell everything out for you. You just kind of have to figure it out. But it's a very simple to short movie, so yeah,
not very long. It's definitely like a product of its time, but it's interesting because it's like it's everything it says it is, but it's a real like simple version of it, and it seems to work well. It all seems to hang together pretty good. I mean, of course, there's things that are silly and you can laugh at or whatever, but for what it is, it's actually it's a good movie.
But it's knowingly ridiculous. Like they put on there as like knowing this is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, it never takes itself it never seems to take itself seriously.
I mean, yeah, it is almost like a Naked Gun movie in that way. It's like where it's like it plays it seriously, but we know it's like kind of kind of funny how things are. Yeah, only Beck's kind of like the super serious one. It's like Beck is almost like in a different movie. Like he's a TV cop in a B horror movie.
Yeah, this is we're gonna have TV cops and character actors in essentially a horror sci-fi movie. And we're gonna do that, and it's like it was a weird idea. It's a cool idea. I guess this script was really popular. Like people liked some of the stuff in it, but they knew they couldn't really make these ideas into something like hugely commercially successful as a sci-fi movie. So that's why like that Canon this was no, who was this? This New Line's horror division picked this up. Yeah,
no, it was just New Line. Like at this time, New Line. Like at this time, it was called the house that Freddy built because that was where they started or made like a lot of their money was with the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually worked their way up to Lord of the Rings, and then disappeared, and then came back. It's like, oh, you only made $7 billion. Why'd you collapse? Like, I don't know, mismanagement.
Yeah. Cocaine and hookers are expensive.
Cocaine, hookers, and no new ideas are expensive.
Yeah, when you're just posting on royalties for 8 years, you're gonna burn through a lot of money in a hurry. But so anyway, The Hidden. This one I'd say check it out.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere, but $3 rental almost everywhere. So yeah, give it a rent.
Yeah, it's worth $2, $3, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You don't need to go full high definition with it or anything. It is totally 80s, but it is cool.
Yeah, I was going to get the DVD, but I don't think I would have got here in time because there is audio commentary on the Blu-ray version.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So, but
for as much as this is a little gemo that I appreciate, I probably should look into that.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know.
And it's a weird thing like on Amazon because like you look up like they don't like list the special features on Blu-rays or DVDs. Like, does this have commentary? Like, I got to go to a second site to find that. It's like,
yeah,
you might want to list your features when you're trying to sell a product.
Yeah. You're trying to sell an obscure like movie with a weird Blu-ray device, from the '80s for $22, and maybe like list a few features.
It has a weird designation. Let me look it up because it has like it's almost like a budget. It seems like a budget thing of like WB. Like this is our budget division of DVDs or something. Let me look it up because it has. Yeah, it's Warner Brothers Archive Collection.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen before. I don't know what that entails, but
that might be on-demand production instead of having physical copies everywhere.
Oh no, this is what they call the Blu-ray version of it.
Oh, okay. I thought it meant they were just making them as they were ordered.
I don't know. Like this is seems some because like I know we've had a bunch of movies we're done where like afterwards I go see if there's a DVD of it and it ends up being like an Arrow video, which they're kind of like a B tier Criterion collection. They do really good stuff, but like they don't have the prestige that Criterion does. But like I'd say they're like on the same level from the stuff I've seen, except they just don't have the they don't do like they have a lot of horror movies and schlock stuff. They don't have like here's this prestige French film that won the Palme d'Or or anything like that. But this seems like it would be a good thing for them. But if Warner Brother owns this, they probably keep and hold. Well, actually, I don't know. Being that what Warner Brothers is now, maybe they're looking to jettison this to somebody.
Maybe we can buy the rights to the hidden. That would be the official podcast of the Verhoeven Effect. Or the official movie of the Verhoeven Effect podcast, yeah.
Sponsored by
brought to you by the hidden. It's a secret.
What is it? We'll never know. That's an interesting title for a movie. I mean, because it doesn't explain what's going on, but it is like provocative. Like what is it? And it does sound like it's, it does sound like something from the 50s. Like much like The Thing. Although in the 50s it was called, what was it, The Thing from Outer Space or whatever, or The Thing from Another World. That was the 50s one.
Yeah, that was it.
And then in the 80s it was just The Thing.
And this also has the best like original VHS box cover art you'll see.
Which one is that? Because on Enemy Database it's like this weird one where it's like a face that's like split.
Yeah,
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the best like cover art things I've ever seen for a movie like this.
Yeah.
It's like it's thoughtful. It actually has something to do with what's going on in the movie.
Anyways, if you like what I heard and how can it you can find us at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect or go to verhoeveneffect.com. It'll take you to the same spot. On your podcast platform of choice, you can rate us. You can rate us whatever you want. But the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. We also have listener support at verhoeveneffect.com where you can sponsor us at a monthly stipend of either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory. Watch both this show and that show live and unedited. And you can get our t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Colin.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.